Hey friends, and welcome back to my channel. For those of you that don't know, I am Lamaria Washington and I'm currently studying abroad in Accra, Ghana, and I'm studying at the University of Ghana. If I am unfamiliar to you, or if this sounds unfamiliar to you, then maybe you should check out this video or this video to just give you guys some context of what I've been doing here and how my experience here has been. But yes, I'm studying abroad at the University of Ghana, and while I'm there, I'm taking a course called Atlantic Crossings. This course discusses the history of the transatlantic slave trade and the effect that it has had on the African continent. So we are discussing the history of the transatlantic slave trade as well as the institution of slavery and how that has impacted Africa as well as those across the diaspora. As a part of this course, we visited the ancestral slave river and we also visited the Cape Coast castles. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with that, the ancestral slave river is the place that the slaves were taken for them to have their last bath before they were made to walk an excruciatingly long distance, chained, whipped, bare feet, in unthinkable conditions, honestly, to the Cape Coast Castle, which is where our next visit was. So we visited both of these places. Before I even start this video, I just like to say that I contemplated whether or not I would make this video and whether or not I would even go there and record, because for me this is and just in general, it is just a very sacred site and a sacred space. And I didn't know if I wanted to record, but I also think that it is important to share my experiences and document my experiences. And given the success of my previous video, you guys are obviously interested in learning about my experiences here in Ghana. So I feel that if I could educate someone else or help someone else, then why not? Because you guys are obviously interested in learning about it, and I don't mind sharing. But I would like to say that I received permission to record while I was there and post all of these videos. So this video is basically my reflection as a African American woman coming to Ghana and being here in the motherland and being able to experience this, being able to step back on ancestral grounds and feel reconnected with my ancestors. And I thought that I would share that with you guys. At the ancestral slave river, we were greeted with images that depicted what had happened here at this site, and our tour guide was absolutely great. Honestly, I have to say he did a great job of briefing us of all the information and just how impactful the events here are and what had taken place, and really setting our mindset and perspective for what we were about to experience. So before we even went to the river, we took a moment of silence just for our ancestors, just to pay homage to our ancestors and to take a moment of recognition for what had happened here. And I think that that was very impactful for me. It definitely set the tone and the space going forward. And I think that that was very important. Our host told us about the mimosa plant, which was used as an alarm system for the different ethnic groups. As you can see, the simplest touch will make it close up. So if they were to come outside and see that the plants were closed up, then they knew that someone was near. And this gave them time to run and hide or either defend themselves and just alert them. When we made it back to the river, I felt rather emotional, knowing the events of what had taken place here. If we wanted to, then we were allowed to step inside of the river, and he told us, our tour guide, he told us that if we wanted to, we could take off our shoes so that the soles of your feet would reconnect back with the river, basically. And all of your ancestors who are now present at this space once again through you will be able to know that they are once again back inside of this space and that their ancestors had returned. So of course I decided to get inside of the river and just have a moment of reflection and a moment of silence. And I think that that was a very serene moment for me. And I also decided to even take some water. I took some water from the river to bring back with me to the States. I want to put the water inside of a necklace that I wear around my neck so that I feel that my ancestors are always with me.
When we were walking out, we were offered the opportunity to make a donation as well as write our name on the wall of return.
We are on our way to, well, we are currently at Cape Coast, but we're on our way to the slave castles. But along the way, we made a stop at this beautiful restaurant. The restaurant is back there. I don't know if you can see it, but this scenery is absolutely beautiful. Like, this is beautiful. Our next site was the Cape Coast Castle, and this was a very long drive. Like, I want to say we drove anywhere from between 2 hours or 4 hours. I honestly can't remember, but being in the car and knowing that people had to walk this distance was absolutely crazy to me, because it genuinely was a very long drive. And knowing that some people had to walk this distance barefoot, chained, being whipped, absolutely terrified for their lives, that was very crazy. Like, it put me in a mindset that was very just overwhelming. And then we made it to Cape Coast Castle. And when we first pulled up, there were merchants there attempting to sell us things. And I think that this is important that I mention this, because it genuinely was a part of my experience and something that I did not find surprising, because our host, our study abroad host, had already prepped us for this. But I would like to mention that the reactions of my group, the group of students that I'm studying with, was split. And in going to Cape Coast Castle, some people felt that there should not be any merchants here. There should be no one here at this ancestral site attempting to capitalize off those who come back and want to reconnect, or capitalize off what this site is and just that experience. But at the same time, we do understand that this is how people make their way of living, and that these same funds are the funds that fund this site in order for it to even be up and running, and for us to have this experience to come back in some way or extent. But I do think that I should mention that that did happen, and there was mixed opinions about it. But going there to the castles, it was certainly an experience. The dungeons were dark and hot, and I cannot imagine being enslaved and absolutely terrified and having to experience that.
These memorials that are there were placed more recently and obviously were not there during the time of enslavement, but these clips just showed the dungeons. You guys can see that there is light in here, but when those lights are turned off, then it gets completely dark. There are also little to no windows, so the ventilation was very, very poor. One could only imagine the smells, sounds, sights that the slaves had to endure and see while they were in there. This door is called the door of no return, because once the enslaved people walked through this door and boarded the ships, they were never to return again. But now, the opposite side of the door has been labeled the door of return, to signify all of the people who have came back and in turn brought their ancestors back to this land. Here we were able to see the master's bedroom, and you see the huge juxtaposition as to how open and how ventilated these rooms are as compared to the slave dungeons. This is the room in which slaves were auctioned, in which people were sold off to the highest bidder, like cargo. You can hear our host in the background telling us some history.
At the same time, it became our weakness. If you visited my brother here home unannounced, and that moment he had only one ball of kenke to eat, trust me, he will share with you, or you eat it together. That is the Ghanaian. Be nice to people you know and those you don't know, since you can't tell what will happen tomorrow. We gave the land freely to the Portuguese. help them construct the dungeons. Did we know that we end up in the dungeons as slaves? No. But eventually it happened. Using some of our own people as well, bringing human resource here and selling them left, right, center. Wrong yesterday, never right today.
Overall, I say that this was a very touching experience. It was an eye-opening experience. Of course, I have learned about slavery before, but it is different when you are here. It is different when you are on this soil, on these ancestral sites. It is different when your feet is in the river. It is different when you are walking through these slave dungeons and you are in the dark and you are looking at these walls and really putting yourself in this experience and truly imagining what it must have been like. And it is especially different for me as an African American woman to come back here and to just be here, to be here. It is different when history is placed in front of you. And I think that it is especially important that we learn about this history because it is trying to be covered up. Yeah. So I hope that this video was impactful to you guys. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. And I thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video.